And I thought I even clicked on it first. So, good morning, Rochel. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for reminding me. It's always good to check not to be muted. I'm just going to say good morning, and I'm going to say thank you, Rochel. I'm going to have my screen off because I'm packing. I'm on the way to the airport today. Just after midnight tonight. And I just said to, I will be going probably straight to Telstone or wherever, but I am looking for somebody who'd like to go with me to the hotel at 2 o'clock in the morning. So if you know of anybody, let me know.
Benny's ready to come with you.
Come with me. I didn't remember. I thought you were already here, and I was waiting to ask you I was waiting by my door to see if you're going to just jump on.
I would love. I'm going to be at the airport coming back next week, but let's just go with that one first.
Okay, good. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming. Everybody should mute yourselves, and let us start. Okay. So first of all, welcome to another beautiful day in Yerushalayim Kodesh. I think we'll finish the colors today. And then there's actually much more to talk about. I didn't go in with you to the colors of the string, of the weavings of the tapestries in the Beis HaMikdash. We'll talk a little bit about that also. So let's just get right, we'll get down to it. Okay, last week we finished with Dan, and now we're up to the tribe of Naphtali. Now, Naphtali, were business people. There were two groups of business people. There was Zvulun, which we learned last week, and Naphtali. Naphtali were import-export. They were, again, they were the ones, these two tribes, there were groups of two tribes, groups of twos that had a certain koach, and this was the money people. Okay, so what's his stone? The stone of being in business is called Shivo. Shin Bet Vav, Shivo. That's the tribe of Naphtali. Naphtali were also very fast. They were people who spoke fast, think fast, walked fast, talked fast. Perhaps they were also athletic. And in the world of business. So listen to before we talk about the color, let's talk about the name of the stone. Now, we learned last week the Sfarim tell us that there's many different opinions about the names of these stones in English, how we would translate them into English, and what colors they are. And we're doing the basic primary according to the Pshat and the Medrash. We're not going through all of the different Greek, and there's also Greek opinions and whatever. Okay, so the Shivo stone, listen to what it means. Before we see the color, listen to what it means. Hainu, af ba'et, ki shivo milashon shav. The word Shivo, the name of that stone, means to keep looking back, to return. Hainu, in other words, af ba'et sheholech la'asok b'iskel ha'maseh. And it looks like he's gam sham hu mistakel Hashem. It means you can be in business, and a person might be in business and think how can I keep my head godly and holy while I'm working? And the Shivo stone and the tribe of Naphtali tell us that yes, it's very, very possible to actually be a worker and to hold on to Hashem at the same exact time. Now, there's a discussion in the Medrash about what color this stone is. I'll tell you the different opinions. Basically, the Medrash says that this color stone is gray, like a gray suited business person. And it also has a little bit of blue, a little bit of black, those colors. So I thought it was so interesting because you know that gray is the color of business. When people talk about, wearing appropriate business attire, you can't go wrong with gray. Some countries don't like black because it's it reminds them of mourning, even though some people think that black is the most, we'll see soon about the black color. But gray seems to be the accepted attire for an official business person. Now, I will tell you that now in the world, I'm sure, for those of you who are high-tech business millionaires, you might not know this, but in the world that we have nowadays, people go to work, the highest position jobs, they go to work in shorts and a t-shirt. There's no longer a dress code in the world of work, in the working world. It used to be that gray was the color of respect and as someone who's respectable and responsible, bankers gray, and that's the color of Naphtali's stone. The English, we don't really have, some call it an agate and some call it an amethyst. It's not really, there's no really translation for that stone, but it's the tribe of Naphtali. And again, it means the color gray means, think about Hashem, even when, now, even officially when you're doing business, but also when life is not colorful. When life is gray, the skies are gray, that idea of things are not brilliant and vibrant, etc. You still could think about Hashem. It's just a choice. I don't like to give musar to people, that's not my place. And everyone's doing the best that they can with the tools that they have. But the idea of thinking about Hashem, even when things are not so exciting in your life, when things in your life are not going well, and still thinking about Hashem, talking to Hashem, talking it over with Hashem, that's Naphtali. And Naphtali was a tribe that had incredible success. Naphtali was a tribe that had incredible financial success and physical success. And in general, they were very, very strong people. So if you can come to that place of talking to Hashem, being connected to Hashem when things are great. Now, I will tell you that, okay, let's go through a few more colors, and then we're going to do color combinations. So now the tribe of Gad, remember that I told you that Naphtali goes with Zevulun, those two are in business. Gad, the tribe of Gad, Gimel Dalet, goes with the tribe of Dan, Dalet Nun, and they were the warriors. They were the fighters, the policemen, the army. That was the nature of that tribe. And you're going to be very surprised at the color of Gad. So Gad, the tribe of Gad, what was their strength? Their strength was that they were strong. That they were strong, and the name of their stone is. 1 second. Did I do the wrong thing? Sorry, did the wrong thing. Naphtali is Leshem. Yeah. Dan, yeah, Shalom. So where does it say Achlama here? Okay, whatever. Here comes the tribe of Gad, and Gad's stone is called an Achlama. 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 Okay. Now, what does Achlama mean? We don't know the name of the stone. It's probably an amethyst. Achlama might be an amethyst, and its color is purple. Purple. The Gemara says it's the color of wine, of diluted wine, because wine sometimes could be so dark that the old-fashioned wine was so dark it almost looked like black. But when you diluted it with a little bit of water, then you saw the actual color, which was purple. And this is a color of strength. Now, in the spectrum, color is purple is a spiritual color. And here we're learning something so fascinating, that God was the color purple, and it was the concept of strength, being strong, and gathering together people to do the Ratzon Hashem, whether it's to fight or to just come together to daven, this tribe of God were always gathering. Now, isn't it interesting that in English, I know that, I don't know if you know this, but the Vilna Gaon taught us, I like to say this in all the classes, the Vilna Gaon taught us that all of the languages come from Hebrew. There are certain words that actually sound in their language sounds like a Hebrew word. We have this in many, many languages, and I told you there's a book by a certain professor, I forgot his name, I really should write it down. It's called The Word, and it's an encyclopedia, actually. You can't get it online. I told you that I once went to the Hebrew University Library stats book. Anyway, he derives every single word in Japanese, Swahili, Amharic, not like English and French and Russian, but the really weird languages, and he shows how they're derived from Hebrew. But the word God means good. Gimel Dalet in Hebrew, G-O-O-D, good, God. And in Chumash, God means good. Leah said, by God, when he was born, she said, a good joy has come. And together is connected also to God, together. As the Pasuk in God says, God gedud yigudenu, God makes gatherings of people, of strong people, and he fights for us. So the color of purple which is a spiritual color, is the color of God, that even though he was out fighting and doing whatever he was doing, he always thought about Hashem. Again, this is all the same idea that colors can bring you to God, and your nature, whatever your nature is, can bring you to God. If you have a fearsome nature, or if you have a soft nature, whatever your nature is, you can use it to come close to Hashem. So God and done. Okay, now we're on the fourth row. The fourth row we had the second row with the Mashiach Yehuda, and now the fourth row is all about Rochel Imena's children.
I'm sorry, Mara. So Dan's stone is the same as God? They have the same?
Oh, they're not the same, but they're the same idea. The idea of serving Hashem.
We did Dan, right? Okay, I'm sorry.
Dan already, right. Dan is a bluish stone. It's the same world. They're both spiritual colors. Dan is bluish, turquoise blue, and God is purple. And they're both incredible. Look, I'm wearing a little bit of those colors. And they're very, very spiritual colors. And they're talking about the most unspiritual, seemingly, tribes who were involved in war and fighting. And Dan, just to go back for a second about Dan, I'll tell you because so Dan had a huge amount of emunah and bitachon, and he never looked back. Whatever he did, he knew he was doing the right thing. That was Dan. Dan ladun, to judge. That's just from last week. Okay, let's do the last line. Is the children of Rochel Imenu first comes Asher and then Yosef and Binyamin. So first comes Asher. Asher's stone is called a Tarshish. Tarshish. That should sound familiar because remember the story of Yonah? And he was, Hashem told him to go to Tarshish and he didn't want to go. Tarshish was a city, a very, very big city. And he had to go to Nineveh, and he ended up by Tarshish, whatever it was. It's a very, very rich stone. The name Tarshish is a very rich stone. And the tzaddikim tell us that Tarshish is Trei Sas, which means multiple levels of happiness. That's Tarshish. And what color is that stone? So listen to this. The Medrash tells us that Asher, this is the tribe of Asher. Asher means to be happy. Asher, Osher. Ashrei Ha'ish, first word of Tehillim, first word of Kuf Yates. We say Ashrei every day. Osher Aleph means to be happy, and Osher Ayin means to be wealthy, means to be rich. Osher Aleph, happy. Osher Ayin, rich. And people always say money does not buy happiness, but we all know that lack of money can sometimes create a pressure that holds us back. What was Asher's wealth? Asher's wealth, and you're going to laugh a little bit. Asher's wealth was in oil, olive oil, not petroleum oil, but olive oil. Asher had the olive oil, the olive trees in his nachala, and the color of olive oil is the color of Asher's stone, Tarshish. That's what the Medrash says. I'm not going to turn my camera, but what you benchlicht if you use oil when you light candles, and if you use oil on Hanukkah, that color. So what color is that? It's hard to explain. That's the color of olive oil. Now, real olive oil has a little bit of a green to it, depending on how they harvest the olives and how
Isn't
much
it goldy?
correct. It's the color of gold. It's a goldish, but it has a color of green in it. So it's a gold olive color, but a little bit of a hue of green. I don't want to turn the camera around, but my licht, I already set them up for Shabbos, and they're gold. But it's a yellowish, goldish, with a little bit of green. And that's the color of wealth. But it's not only wealth, financial wealth, because they were not business people, they were farmers. Asher were farmers that farmed the land and produced oil. And of course, the primary use of oil was for the Beis HaMikdash, for the oil in the Beis HaMikdash. Also, thank you, Rebecca, yeah, it's a little bit green. It has a green tinge to it. The more the oil is, the more artificial things are happening to the oil, right? More processing in the oil, the yellower it is. But it's a yellow, gold, green. Anyway, but Asher was wealthy, but not with the business. He was wealthy as a farmer. And you should know that the women in Asher, the women of the tribe of Asher were considered very beautiful. They were full. Their faces were, they smeared olive oil on their faces all the time. They had great complexions. And they were full because they were farmer girls, and they were farming oil. So they had that combination because the primary oil was used for the Beis HaMikdash. So they were at the same time farmer girls, strong, but also spiritual, because their intention was to produce oil for the Beis HaMikdash. So the Kohanim used to like to marry women from the tribe of Asher. A Kohen would prefer to marry a Bas Kohen. A Kohen would prefer to marry a girl who was a Kohen. They preferred that because all the tribes preferred to marry within their tribe, because culturally they were more used to each other. But if they didn't marry a Kohen, a woman from Levi, they would marry Asher, women from Asher. And they produced beautiful children, strong children. Asher means to be happy, and it means to be happy even if, now look at what they did. So they were farmers. They were able to be happy while they were farmers. And the Kohanim married them. Why? Because they were spiritual at the same time that they were farming. We'll translate that for ourselves as, you can be spiritual while you're cooking, while you're cleaning. In other words, the chores aspect, not the business aspect. The business aspect, we know you can be spiritual because of Zevulun and Naphtali. And now the physical aspect of the world, the more mundane tasks, and this is the only tribe that we have recorded. The other tribes all had farms. Of course they had farms. But this was the tribe this was the Shevet that its primary description was its olive trees and its farming. The tribe of Asher, there's a discussion of where the tribe of Asher is. Now, if you look at the art scroll will tell you that the tribe of Asher is in the north, like near Tzfat area, but on the coast. We know that where olive trees grow now, they grow a lot in Hebron. Of course, we have olive groves here in Yerushalayim HaKodesh, but we have in Hebron, and we also have in the near the Kinneret area, which is the tribe of Naphtali. So some say they were switched, that Naphtali and Zvulun were by the shore. But generally, where olives grow oftentimes grapes grow. And those were the two of the Sheva Minim, the two fruits that were used in the Beis Hamikdash were grapes and olives. Grapes made wine, and olives made the olive oil for the menorah, and also was poured onto the mizbeach, used in karbanos. And those were together. They were all grown in the same area. Even today, you have grapes by Hebron, and you have olives by Hebron, and you have grapes and olives growing in the north, groves of them. You also have a little bit, in the middle of the country, but that's where, okay, so Osher, Aleph Shemesh, Osher, happiness. You're sad, something is upsetting, so it's going to sound so funny, but take some olive oil, pour olive oil in your cooking. It's a healthy oil anyway, especially if you have it raw. When you light your candles, light with olive oil, or if you light with a regular candle, put a little bit of olive oil into it. We know that when you light a yahrzeit candle, the neshamas of the people who passed away enjoy olive oil. So if you light a yahrzeit candle, a regular candle, pour a drop of olive oil there. Olive oil makes people happy. It's also a healing. Olive oil used to rub into the skin is also healing. So that color, the color of olives, of olive oil, is a healing, happy, inducing, happy with your lot, being happy with your portion, knowing that if you do your talents right, you can marry a Kohen, meaning you can really succeed spiritually. That was Usher. Usher is a great name to name people. My father's name was that. Now I have a grandson, Baruch Chaim Tov, his name. And so it means wealth. That's what it means. Okay, and by the way, it means not skinny. So the women of Asher were not thin. They were fuller, not fat, but fuller. Okay, now comes the last two stones of Yosef and Binyamin, the Shoham and the Yashpeh. Interesting stones. Shoham, Shin Vav He Mem, and Yashpeh. Exactly the opposite in color. The Shoham stone was a dark stone. Some say it was like an onyx, like a black. That was Yosef HaTzadik. And the Yashpeh stone, some say was an opal, a light-colored opal that contained all the colors. So now let's look at those two ideas because they're very related. Black, in outer space, black is called the absence of color. A black hole, let's say, it has no matter in it. It has nothing in it. That's why it's a vacuum. It sucks in. So in space, black means no color. But in this world, black is achieved when you put all the colors together. When you paint, purple on top of red, on top of blue, on top of green, on top of yellow, you just paint all the colors one on top of the other. It's going to be one big blob. It's going to turn into black. So black absorbs color. As you know, it absorbs because you know how that is. If you go outside in Israel in a sunny day and you're wearing black, your body temperature raises 10 degrees because black takes in heat and energy. It absorbs light. White, on the other hand, in terms of analyzing white, the color white, in terms of analyzing the color white, it looks like it has no color. And yet we know that scientifically, white contains all the colors of the spectrum. So white and black, that's why they go together. White and black are the same idea, meaning they each contain all the colors and they each look like they have no color. White is it's not a color. When you don't know what to wear, you wear white or you wear black. But so it doesn't have like a person who's an albino. Doesn't have pigment, doesn't have the color pigments in their skin and in their eyes and in their hair. There's no color pigments. There's no energy level of color in an albino. And so, on the other hand, white light contains all the colors. Black is scientifically an absence of color, and that's why it absorbs color, right? If you shine sunlight on black, it drinks in the sunlight, because sunlight is containing the 7 colors, and black has no colors. So the way it works in science is where there's a vacuum, the energy is absorbed in. So black absorbs colors because it has no color, and yet it contains all the colors. That was Yosef and Binyamin. So that's why white and black are the easiest things to deal with, because it's like a no-brainer. You wear black, you're fine. You wear white, you're fine. Our cheva wears black and white. The name of the black stone is called a shoham. Shoham, and this shoham stone is also all the other stones have just one appearance in the clothing of the base of the Kohen Gadol. The shoham stone has 3 appearances in the clothing of the Kohen Gadol. It's on the breastplate, and it's also on his shoulders. So the Kohen has a very, very beautifully colored outfit. The regular Kohanim, they just wear white. The Kohen Gadol, he wears colors. And on the shoulders of this outer colored robe that he's wearing, the most multicolored robe, the ephod, on the shoulders are 2 stones, called also these same shoham stones, these black stones, and carved into the shoulder stones are the names of the 12 tribes, 6 on each side, and carved into the shoham stone on the choshen is Yosef's name. And again, this is a black stone, but listen to this, and you're going to laugh, and Joanne's going to laugh because she always wants, we have this machlokas, I like to wear color, she likes to wear black. So listen to what black represents. Shohem hu ahava, it represents love. But what kind of love? So the Ishmael Rebbe here explains like this. How, and this is related to Yosef Atzadik, it's related to the color black. How in the world was Yosef Atzadik able to overpower his the flirtation or whatever she will of the Ashes Potiphar? This his employer's wife, Potiphar's wife. She was an incredibly beautiful woman. Yosef Atzadik was the most beautiful man till Mashiach ben Yosef. When we see with our eyes Mashiach ben Yosef, whoa, whoa, whoa. Mashiach ben Yosef is going to be a very beautiful person to look at. And Yosef Atzadik was a very beautiful man to look at. We know that. All the women were crazy about him. They would throw their necklaces at him. They wanted him to look at them. Just even to look at them was like a big thing for them. So how was he able to withstand the Ashes Potiphar? And what does she do every day? The Gemara says, whatever she wore, she changed outfits twice a day. She was like so much trying to attract his attention, and she was a rich lady, so she would bathe and change. You know, in those days the women didn't bathe a lot, and they certainly didn't change their clothes. She would do it twice a day. She would put on different outfits, and he stayed black. What does that mean? It means he was only 17 years old. He had a tremendous amount of passion inside of him. Eventually, he gave all of that passion and love to his wife, to Asna, and to the Jewish people. But until then, he gave it all back to God. And he said, Hashem, I'm full of love. I'm full of love, and I'm going to use it to love you and to find pleasure in speaking to you and to find pleasure in learning your Torah. And thinking about my father and my grandfather and the nation that we're creating, and my brothers. He kept his mind so focused on loving correct things that he was able to overcome her who was trying to seduce him to love inappropriately. And even if her intentions, she had good intentions, she saw in prophecy that they would have a child together, or children together, whatever it was. And the Rebbe has said something interesting. He says, Yosef Atzadik would never have been able to withstand her temptations if he was just sticking to Yira Shamayim, to fear of God, and to fear of halacha, and to fear of doing the wrong thing, because fear wouldn't have been strong enough. But love was able to overcome, healthy love was able to overcome unhealthy love. That's the color black. Now, black is also a protection color, and it's also a very modest color. In olden days, most people didn't wear black because they wore bland. What do I mean by that? Black, you actually have to manufacture the color black. In olden days, when they would weave fabric, so what were they weaving fabric from? From natural fibers. So either wool or linen or silk or cotton. That's what people used to wear. They didn't have polyester like we have what we wear today. We're wearing plastic. They didn't have that. So when they would weave their clothing, they would have clothing in the color of its natural state. Usually browns, beiges. To get black, you had to dye it with a certain with a certain dye. Okay, so the idea that black is a color of mourning is a non-Jewish concept, just letting you know. Because what is our color of mourning? White. Did you, right? We know that. That's why a bride wears white and a groom wears white. And that's why the tachrichim are white. The shrouds that we bury a person in are white. And here in Eretz HaKodesh, in Eretz Yisrael, we wrap the bodies in talis, the talisim, those are also white. So black is not a color. Black is the non-Jewish color of mourning. So don't worry about that concept. It's an idea, it is a color of protection, which is why Yosef Atzadik also used that. But it contains everything, but it doesn't look like it contains anything. It absorbs. Now, Binyamin, so Yosef Atzadik's nature was to be taking whatever passions he had, and giving it in a healthy way, right? It says that when he was finally, she drove him crazy, this lady. And finally, she had this whole plan. She kicked everybody out of the house. She basically attacked him. And like, for him to walk away from her is one thing. But when she was attacking him physically already, that was a harder thing for him to deal with. And what did he do then? The Medrash tells, Rashi brings down, the Medrash tells us that he envisioned his father's face. The face of Yaakov Avinu. He envisioned his father's face, and he felt the love that his father had for him. Yaakov Avinu, the love and the confidence. And that love was able to overpower what she was trying to do to him. So now, when you wear black, you're going to remember, number one, it's protection. Number two, it means appropriate use of your emotions. That's how I would probably define Yosef Atzadik and the Midah of Yesod, is appropriate use of your emotions. You have to all daven for that. We're in a generation right now. The generation that we're in now is the generation of Yesod, in terms of the years and the calendar. And we see that we have to get our emotions appropriate. It's a big feeling. Okay, that's black, the mystery, one of the mysteries of black. And again, it appears 3 times in the stones. It's the only one that has 3 of them. It's a very handy, a handy tool to have whenever to have appropriate emotions, with appropriate relationships. All of that's the same thing. And now comes Yashpeh, now comes Yosef and Binyamin. Now, Yosef and Binyamin were the same, meaning when we say Mashiach ben Yosef, we also could mean Binyamin. Binyamin is also Mashiach ben Yosef. Okay, Rebecca, don't worry. Be well, be safe. When people pop in and off, pop off and on, it's always nice to thank you for saying. Okay.
Sorry, can you just spell the name of the stone? I'm not hearing it correctly.
Stone.
Binyamin.
Binyamin is very interesting. It's interesting that you're asking it that way because that's part of the way to understand. Binyamin is the way you spelled his stone. So you, Baruch Shekivant, you say Baruch Shekivanti. Yashpe, Yud Shin Pei He, Yud Shin Pei He, Yud Shin Yesh, and Pei He, Peh. Oh, there. So now, what do we know about and again, this stone, which I don't think if you would walk into a jeweler on Rehov Yafo and say, "Can I please have a Yashpe stone?" I don't think that they use that name anymore. It sounds like the word jasper. I think jasper is a stone, but they don't translate that at all. They translate it as an opal. And again, opal could be in many, because opal, what did you say? That the opal, nowadays they call it nofach and opal. Yeah. So anyway, but it's a stone, it's a light colored stone that has all the colors in it visibly. Now, black is a dark colored stone, and you know that the colors are in there, but you don't see them. Yashpe is a light colored stone, and you see, turn it one way, you see blues, and turn it the other way, you see purples, and turn it the other way, you see oranges and reds. I once had an opal. I think I lost it. I like that stone. It's a very nice stone, the Yashpe stone. Okay, so it's Binyamin. Now, what does it mean? So here, the Ishbitz Rebbe says, the name of the stone and the fact that it's multicolored and the name of the stone is the same idea. And again, it's an idea that we're familiar with, but here in a little bit of a different touch. He says like this, Yashpe is yesh lo peh. Yashpe, the way you write it, yud shin pei he, means yesh peh, there's a mouth. That means he has a mouth. Now, we know the Medrash that tells us that Binyamin knew that Yosef, his brother, had been sold by the other brothers, and he did not reveal that secret to his father, Yaakov Avinu. And he could have, but he didn't. He didn't say what he didn't say. He saw that Yitzchak Avinu also knew, and he didn't tell Yaakov Avinu. And Binyamin knew, and he didn't tell Yaakov Avinu. It's a very big teaching. How were they able to how were they able to bear Yaakov Avinu's suffering for all of those years? And they knew the solution. They knew that he shouldn't be crying so much because Yosef was still alive. But they didn't reveal it because they didn't want to interfere in Hashem's plan. Hashem didn't reveal it to him, so they said, who am I to reveal it? Now, that's a very, very big topic of when we should intervene. Nowadays, nobody's privy to prophecy. So Yitzchak Avinu and Binyamin both got prophecy that Yosef was alive, and Yaakov did not. So they couldn't share a prophecy with him that he hadn't gotten. Nowadays, we don't have that situation. So if we can relieve someone's pain by supplying them with some information, we should do that. We have an obligation to do that. But Binyamin didn't. So first he had a mouth that he could have spoken, he didn't speak. By the way, he could have spoken against his brothers. He didn't. Ooh, so there's a lot of Shmiras HaLashon there. And that's why Rabbi Kessin says, because Binyamin is also Yesod, Rabbi Kessin keeps talking about Shmiras HaLashon, that what's going to bring Mashiach, he's been screaming this for years and years, is Shmiras HaLashon. And Rabbi Alon and Ava was saying that we should stop stepping on each other, that the people who were killed by being sadly crushed, that we have to be careful to stop stepping on each other. I didn't hear the shir, I just read the title of it, and I got what he was saying. So there's not, in order for Yesod, that's Mashiach ben Yosef, to enter into Malchus and bring Mashiach ben David, we have to be careful with our mouth. Binyamin, Yesh Peh, he had what he could have said, he didn't. So holding it, so now, the opal stone, if you have a problem with Shmiras HaLashon, go out and buy yourself an opal stone. It's not so expensive. And keep looking at it. And remember, this is the stone of Binyamin, who didn't say Lashon Hara. I'm very serious. Okay, so not just that, but listen to this. The Rebbe says, not just that he didn't say Lashon Hara, but he has a mouth, livloa, to swallow, to integrate, lekabel kol hatavot hanimtzaim ba'olam, ואף הטובות הנמצאים בין האומות, יש לו כוח ללקוט ולקבל, ומביט לטובות האומות ומכניסם לישראל. That means Binyamin was the scientists, and they were the historians, and they were basically the scientists, meaning they were able to look at the chachmas of the world and introduce them, bring them into Torah to weed out what's kosher and what's not kosher. He has a mouth, so he would chew, he would swallow, he would absorb, he would take in all the greatness of the world, all the tovot of the world, the wealth of the world, the information of the world. And you know what happens in your mouth? What happens in your mouth is if you feel a pit, if you're eating grapes, that's wrong. Let's say pomegranates. Well, what do we spit the pit at? I don't know. If you're eating something and it has a pit in it, if you're eating chicken, okay, because those pits, by the way, why am I rejecting it? Because you can eat pomegranate pits and you can eat grape pits. They're actually healthy for you. If you're eating a piece of fish and you find a bone, you have to spit it out because that bone is sharp and it's made out of a material that's not going to be digested. So what did Binyamin do? He ate everything, all the colors, all the beauty of the world. He ate it in his mouth. Yesh Pei has a big mouth to take in. Then he would chew and chew. And if there was something unkosher, a bone, he would take it out, spit it out, throw it away, and take that which was nourishing and kosher, and incorporate it somehow into the Jewish world. So I'm going to give you there's so many examples of this in science, in technology, in art, in, that's basically, culture. Let's say, for example, I told you once that Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg Shlita, so he once said that the best way to teach, I'm not doing the best way to teach at all. How should I be teaching this? Is Rabbi Judy on? Oh, I hope you're on. Let's see if you're on. I can't do this, but okay. The best way to teach something is to integrate all of the to integrate music and sound and how you say that? When they paint the background in the stage, the what's that called? When they have props in the back of what?
Backdrop.
The backdrop. There's another word for it. The scenery, and you have and you're not just telling. I'm just giving you I'm talking to you. But no, if I would, let's say, put on the color opal, and then I would act out Binyamin's life with music and with all of the different possibilities. That he says movies are the best way to teach something. And he wanted to make years and years ago. He wanted to make a production studio, and he wanted to make movies, films, but not a film of the Ten Commandments, but a film of let's say, take an idea. The Erez Doron once did this. He wrote a book. He wrote a novel, and it was just he just made it too complicated. But make a novel. Let's say the Lord of the Rings, right? Lord of the Rings was written by a Protestant minister, and it's the whole idea of good versus evil. And in the end, it looks like evil is winning. In the last minute, good wins. The good guy always wins. In olden days, the cowboy TV stuff, the cowboy movies, whatever it is, Rav Ginsburg says that the best way to teach is to include everything in your presentation: music, color, a storyline, etc. That's called Binyamin. Binyamin takes everything from the world, he koshes it, he kashes it, and then he digests it, and he makes it Jewish. The first time that I ever saw this in action was by Chabad. So years and years ago, I was privileged to go for Dalis to the Rebbe, Chabad Labab Rebbe. And he said something to me. I asked him a question. It was not the first time I had gone. I had gone already a few times, so I knew the. One second. Gila, I'm teaching. I'll call you back soon. I knew I knew the protocol already, so I knew that I had to get in like in 10 seconds flat. I had to get in. So I asked a question, and the Rebbe answered me back in Yiddish. Now he knew that I spoke English and Hebrew, and that my Yiddish is like, in those days. Now it's a little bit better, but I live in there, so it's a little bit better. But in those days, I didn't live in Brooklyn, so my Yiddish was a language. The secret language. My parents did not want us to understand. They spoke in Yiddish. Anyway, he said to me in Yiddish, and then they pushed me out. So I didn't know what to do. I answered a question. He gave me an answer, but I didn't understand it. I caught a few words here and there, but I wanted to know, like, what did he say? So when I got outside, I was very distressed, and I said to one of the Gabbai ladies there, like, the Rebbe answered me, but I don't know what he said because he said in Yiddish. So she said to me, "So go buy the video." I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, go around the corner." She showed me where it was. Chabad, this is going back how many years? 30 years, at least. Chabad in olden days, they were recording the whole Rebbe standing there giving out dollars for those, 10 hours on Sundays. I don't know how many hours it was. I didn't notice it. They had a movie recording studio thing, a cameraman with a professional angled it exactly the right way. So whatever it is, she told me where to go. I walked into this store. It was a storefront. And I said to them, "Can I buy a movie of the Rebbe talking to me?" And the guy, I thought I was saying something absolutely absurd. And the guy said, "Sure, that's what we do." And he said, "When were you there?" I said, "I'm just coming from there. So I don't know. How long did it take me to walk?" So he wrote down the hour. And then he saw he said, "Were you wearing that?" I was wearing a very, very, a coat with a coat. So he wrote down the color, I guess, the description. I guess he wrote down some certain clues for himself. And he said, "Okay, it was $15, something like that." And he said, "We'll mail it to you." And in the end, so I mamish had no idea what it was. In the end, they mailed me, I don't know how you say those, DVD? No, not a DVD. Remember those big things that were like the box thing and you stuck it into a machine and you played a movie? Those, I don't know what you call that. What do you call that?
CD, I think.
No, it wasn't a CD. A CD is a disc, a small disc. It was like
VHS.
Video.
No? Yeah, video.
cassette, yeah. Whatever, you get the idea. I have it someplace. It was like the size of a book, a small book, and you take it out, you put it into this machine, and it plays. And there it was. Okay, they have a whole thing. What they do, that first they show you when you put in your little miniature movie. First, they show you scenes of 770 and the Rebbe's Farbrengens, and they show you different singing, and they show you different what. And then, because your whole spot in that movie is like, I don't know, 15 seconds. So they can't sell you a 15-second tape. So they have to make a preview, and they have to make a prefix and a suffix. After you see yourself, then you see also more music and words. Did anybody ever do that? I was flabbergasted. Anyway, the truth is I had to take it to a friend of mine, a Rebbetzin friend of mine, because I still didn't understand the Yiddish, but at least I had a copy of it. Chabad, that's one of the things that they do. They say, Binyamin, Mashiach ben Yosef, that's the idea of there's nothing in this world that you can't utilize in a good way. The internet, look what we're doing. The internet is full of schmutz, it's full of disgusting things. And the truth is, if we all could live without it, we would have been much better off, because of the sad things and the tragic things that it created in our nation. But on the other hand, the internet has, a huge, Judy, are you on? Because I wanted to talk about that idea of, teaching in that way. There's a seminary that's starting to teach Torah in that way, of bringing in not just a shiur, but also expressing it in song, in pantomime, in music, in arts, and creativity, in all different ways. That's a plug for my precious Rebbetzin Judy. So that's what Binyamin says. What Chabad says. Chabad says, if it exists, we would prefer the internet didn't exist, but it exists. So now you have to use it. And what are you going to use it for? You're going to use it, you're going to pull out the kosher and you're going to spit out the schmutz. That's called the yashpeh. That's all of the colors of the world. Hashem, when Mashiach comes, Hashem is going to kasher everything. Everything's going to be kosher because nobody will use it in a treif way. It says even a chazir will be kashered somehow. We're not going to eat it, but somehow that the idea that the worst things could be used in a holy way if you use it in a holy way. Okay, Chevra, now listen. We finished the Choshen. We finished like level 1. This is so deep. These colors are so deep. Now I want to talk a little bit about the colors of the Sefirot, because Rabbi Joanne wants me to finish up this topic. So I just want to tell you a little bit about the colors of the Sefirot. The color, this is a different system altogether, and you can bring it all together. It takes a very, very long time to describe what colors are. A very, very long time. But I just want to tell you that there's such a thing called color combinations, because all of the colors that we mentioned are not all the colors of the, right? We have the basic colors. We have red, green, yellow, blue, and all of those, and purple. That's the basic colors of the spectrum. Orange, right? Orange we know. So there's color combinations. Every color is a color combination. So now, life is not like, monolithic. It's not one way. It's not that you're only going to be one type. Life is full of a million trillion things, and we have to access all of the midos that we can. We have to sometimes be chesed, sometimes we have to be gevura, sometimes we have to be reuven, sometimes we have to be shimon, sometimes we have to be lady, right?
Hi.
That's how our life is, bye, sweetie. That's how our life is. And so,
Hashem, I just have to rush.
okay. Tell you about the colors of the sphere. So now, white is chesed, red is gevura, and green, yellow is tiferes. There you go. Everything else are combinations. Then you have a derivative of chesed and gevura is netzach and hod. Netzach is light pink and hod is dark pink. You see what light pink and dark pink is? Light pink and dark pink, which is netzach and hod, is a combination of white and red. More white with a little bit of red, that's netzach. More red with a little bit of white, that's hod. Combination. Yesod again in the sefirot is either black, that's Yosef Tzaddik, is either black or orange. And Malchus is purples, blues. So Yehuda's colors. Now, you can make colors from everything like that. So for example, I'll just tell you something. For example, the colors in rooms, right? So we know that the reds, oranges, and yellows, we know that those are passionate colors. So you're not going to put that in your kitchen or in your bedroom, because or in the kids' bedroom, because you don't want them to be hyper in the kitchen or in their bedroom. In your living room or in your family room where you want to have a lot of activity going on, you could put a little bit of reds, orange, yellows. Yellow, remember, is more intellectual. In the study, you want to use, it depends what you're using a study for. If you're using a study for learning, then you're going to put the blues, and because that's the blues and the purples or the blacks, concentration in your study. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have black walls, chas v'shalom. Everything, all the walls should always be light colors to expand. The Gemara says that a house should be expansive. It shouldn't be closed in. And even though I know that nowadays it's like a style to make dark colors on the walls, but really the Gemara says, harchavas hadas, you have to have expansion as big as you can. So you're not gonna, you're gonna think twice before you're painting all of your walls dark green, because it's gonna close it in. And even if you have a large space, you don't need to paint the walls dark, because the large space, anyway, you're not gonna see the walls. So you want to think about colors in your life. You want to think about, for example, why does Hashem make fruits colorful and vegetables colorful, and meats and everything else bland colors? And you want to know, what does Hashem want us to eat more of? Does Hashem want us to eat more of the animal products, which are bland colors, whites, browns, beiges, or fruits and vegetables, which are gorgeous colors? You know that there are people, for example, who when they put on a plate on the table, they eat by color. They want to make sure that they have colorful food. Colorful food is introducing the fruits, the vegetables. And if you're having, let's say, bread, so you want to have warmer color bread than a lighter colored bread because it's more nutritious. Hashem painted the world for us to take lessons from the actual colors of the world. Now, I also want to tell you that colors are very healing. I'm squishing in like hours and hours of info right now. If you don't feel well, go outside and stare at the sky if it's very strong blue, or go outside into your garden and look at all the different greens. The colors green. Just look at the green. Plant green in your garden. So you have dark greens, light greens. Don't look at a tree that's withering green, like the green leaves are like grayish or beigeish, or they're losing the color, because that's a weakening of the tree. If you're feeling schwach, go to a park. Look at the grass. Grass, green, that color. Look at the sky and the grass. Go out in your park, in your backyard, if you have such a thing. Sky and grass. When you need clarity, you read a book, black and white. You print with a black and white pen, right? Black pen on white paper. When people use different colored pens, right, and pencils, right, to take notes, now it's a big thing. You know, the kids in seminary, they all bring their colored markers and they take their notes in different colors. And then I always ask them to show me the notebook afterwards. And we talk about what colors they chose for which different, and it's so accurate because our body knows color. The question is, can we introduce more color into our life? Again, I could talk about this for a million years, but it's time for me to have to go. So I'm going to first I'm going to say thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed this little series. We'll make these kinds of maybe we'll go back to Tehillim for a few weeks and we'll go back